When a movie musical is great and firing on all cylinders, it's just a wonder to behold. But I love the idea of multi-generational viewers watching these films together every Saturday. My hope is that people will really make Musical Matinee a necessary and imperative part of their weekend and watch it with friends and family members of all different ages. That's the best way I can think to spend a Saturday early afternoon. TCM Musical Matinee, hosted by me, Dave Karger, Saturdays at noon, starting November 5th.
Dave, hey, good afternoon.
What's going on, Jeffrey? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well.
Doing great.
Oh, excellent. Thanks for joining me today. I have to say right at the top here that, as a lifelong Turner Classic Movies fan, big time since day one, I was really skeptical about your rebranding last year. It took everyone by surprise. I hate change, you know me. And I'm telling you, you guys are just killing it over there. It's just not only is it just, it feels like a brand new TCM, but the amount of original program, it's overwhelming. I've spent so much of my time watching all of your new programming, and it's just better than ever. So congratulations.
That means a lot. We are a channel that shows movies that are now almost 100 years old, but we're living in 2022. So I think it's been incumbent upon us as a network to present these films with a little bit more of a contemporary viewpoint. The movies aren't changing. We're still showing them. We're just talking about them a little bit differently and curating them a little bit differently. And to hear you say that you appreciate that means a lot, because that's what we're trying to do.
Well, you're doing it right, so keep it going. So especially tell us what you have in store for TCM fans Saturdays in November, Saturday afternoons.
Do you know what? It's interesting. And I apologize if there was any miscommunication, because you're not the only person to think this. This is not just a series in November. This is a new permanent weekly year-round franchise that I'm hosting called Musical Matinee, where every Saturday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, you know that if you turn on TCM, you will see me and you will see a movie musical. And it's something that I wanted to do. It's been in the works for 2 years now. We finally are just launching it this month. And I'm so excited that people seem to be enthusiastic about it, because I think it's just the perfect way to kind of kick off your weekend.
Well, that's great to hear. So now I know where I'm going to be every Saturday afternoon for the rest of my life. So thanks a lot. I'm a huge movie fan, as you know, and musicals touched me at a very, very early age. And so many influenced me. And I wanted to know, I heard that Grease really influenced you at a young age.
It did. Grease came out when I was 5 years old. And because of that, it just was one of the first movies that I ever saw, along with like Benji, I think was another one of the first ones that I ever saw. Benji didn't have the impact on me that Grease did. And there was just something about the songs. I really was taken with kind of how catchy they were. If you'll forgive me, I was very taken by Frankie Avalon singing Beauty School Dropout. He definitely kind of like awakened something in a little 5-year-old like future gay kid. But I just loved that song, and I loved his white outfit and the whole performance. I just was very taken by him. But I loved the characters. I just loved the whole vibe of it. And then because I was such a music lover and I had a little Mickey Mouse record player, we had the Grease album. And I would just sit and listen to the Grease album. I would listen to the Saturday Night Fever album. So that's kind of what got my love going of, movie musicals. But then it wasn't until years later when I was in college and discovered classic film in general with movies like Citizen Kane and Laura and Seven Chances and On the Waterfront, that I also then kind of just started discovering older movie musicals. And now I love Fred and Ginger, and I love Gene Kelly and Doris Day and all the great people that you're going to see, every week as part of this franchise. But the thing I like about it is that you can also know that around once a month, you're going to see a movie from my lifetime as well. So whether it's Cabaret from 1972 or Annie from 1982, you're going to see some more contemporary movies sprinkled in there, along with the bread and butter of the franchise, which is going to be the older classic films.
I think Music Man, as you can see behind me, was my biggest influence when I was a teenager. I mean, I saw the movie that really changed my life when I was a little boy was Singing in the Rain. I remember seeing it on television for the first time. I actually took tap lessons because of Gene Kelly when I was 8 years old. I still have the tap shoes. They're like this big. And I used to have an old VHS back in the early days. We had one of the first ones, and I used to tape Sing in the Rain. If it came out, I would be obsessed with learning the dance steps, to all of the routines, even though I was nowhere near, a little kid trying to do that. And I didn't have an appreciation, though, for Fred Astaire till I got older. When you're a kid, I think that Gene Kelly can really relate to you when you're a young age, but Fred Astaire takes a maturity to appreciate his craft.
Sure. Well, there's an elegance to Fred Astaire that I do think you need a little bit of more of a maturity to really love and appreciate. But you're right, someone like Gene Kelly, because he's so athletic and so kind of contemporary feeling in his time, that I can see how he would appeal more to a younger person. But Music Man, which by the way is going to be shown as part of my musical matinee franchise on December 3rd, is one of my absolute favorites. And that performance by Robert Preston, to me, is the epitome of charisma. I love that performance as Harold Hill. Just everything he does, every gesture, every hand movement, every piece of choreography, every delivery of a lot of these songs, which he's not even technically singing. He's essentially doing spoken word way before Hamilton. I'm in awe of that Robert Preston performance, and I see why he won a Tony for it.
Yeah. Well, next time we're together, I'll do You Got Trouble. Because when I was in high school, when I was 15, I got mono. So I was out of school for a whole month, and Music Man came on HBO, and I taped it. And I mean, I spent weeks learning that song and all the songs in Music Man. So yeah, it's just one of my all-time favorites too. So now with musicals, I'm always being challenged by this. When someone who's never seen one before, what is your go-to musical to show someone for the very first time?
Ooh, I've never thought of that, but just off the top of my head, I'm going to say Singing in the Rain, because it's so fun, it's so funny, and it also kind of teaches you a little bit about the history of musicals in the movie. And so I would say that is one that is just so entertaining because of its high energy. It's a contemporary feeling film. It's not like a costumey drama like My Fair Lady, which is also one of my favorites. So I would say Singing in the Rain would be probably the best one to start with. Even though American in Paris won all the Oscars, that one I think requires you to kind of fall in love with musicals a little bit more before you're ready to really appreciate that. But aren't you perplexed by people who like can't deal with a movie musical and can't deal with people singing their feelings, and they get
the biggest complaint is they don't understand the concept of them just singing out of nowhere, just start singing for no reason. I say you got to detach yourself from reality. I would show The Sound of Music. That's the one I go to show someone for the very first time.
Nice.
And so, especially some, older kids, when they see the singing nuns, I said, no, there's some good stuff coming up. Just get past the nun singing. So that's the musical you would show to someone. How about, what do you, in your opinion, is the greatest musical number in a musical?
Do you know what? I'm going to say it's Trouble. I mean, that, even though it's not even that musical, for me, everything about that, and just the way that number, I just talked about it on a special segment that's going to be on the TCM social media in a couple of weeks. But that number, to me, everything about it, the camera work, Morton DaCosta's camera work, the kind of hand choreography that Robert Preston does, the fact that the song starts out as essentially a rap and then morphs into more musicality, the way that it turns into a church service by the end.
Yep.
Everything about it, I just love. You know what else I'm going to say that's coming to my mind now?
Yes.
Is the other one that I really, really love is Sit Down, You're Rockin' the Boat from Bye Bye Birdie. I think that, I mean, from Guys and Dolls, not by
Guys and Dolls.
all the shows I did in high school.
Stubby K, yes.
Stubby K. And I used to listen to that Guys and Dolls cassette tape, and I just love Sit Down, You're Rockin' the Boat. That another one that's kind of rousing, feels like church,
right?
With a great kind of tenor Stubby K performance.
I love Sid Charisse in the nightclub scene and singing in the rain. I mean, I could watch that one scene over and over. I think it's one of the greatest dance numbers in cinema. I just can't get over how elegant and incredible she's in that.
Love it.
Yeah. Also, one of my favorite composers and for movie musicals, I think is always overlooked, is Leslie Bricusse. I just adore him, from Goldfinger, You Only Live Twice, Willy Wonka, Victor Victoria. Yeah, Dr. Dolittle. I think Crazy World's one of the greatest songs in cinema. I just think that's just brilliant. And also Scrooge. We're coming up on the holidays, one of my all-time favorites, but I don't think he gets enough attention. I really don't.
I think oftentimes the lyricists don't get the attention. I actually got to know Leslie Bricusse before he passed away. I got to have a couple meals with him and his wife, Evie, who was an actress. She was in Double Trouble with Elvis Presley. She was in The Last of Sheila. She played the title character Sheila, who gets murdered at the beginning of the movie. And she's still with us. She actually came to the TCM Film Festival this past spring. And he was such a lovely, lovely man. And for all that he achieved with the Oscars and all the songs that he wrote, just a very humble and lovely guy. So I'm sad that he's gone. I'm glad you brought him up.
I'm so jealous. In my career, I've always wanted to meet Leslie because, he just was such an influence on me from Willy Wonka, my whole life. He's always been there. When as I got older, the more mature songs and everything. So I'm jealous. So, and finally today, I'd love to know your thoughts on Spielberg's West Side Story, about his re-imaging of that film. What did you think?
I loved it. I loved it because I think it instantly erased all of the problems of the amazing first West Side Story with the casting. And obviously that's the way movies were made, in the early 1960s. White people were playing, Latino and Latina characters, but I loved Spielberg's version and that shot of them going into the dance in the gym. I mean, there was so much cool stuff in that. And I'll tell you what I liked even more was In the Heights.
Oh, yes.
And I'm so disappointed that movie did not do better because I loved it. I loved every second of it. And I would encourage anyone who's interested in movie musicals to check that one out because it's tremendous.
Absolutely. And with West Side Story, I gave Spielberg the benefit of the doubt because I know every dance move, every lyric, every move in the original film. So I went in just, with an open mind. And I swear I came out like I saw that movie for the first time. That's how I felt.
Exactly. And that's the Spielberg and Tony Kushner.
Yeah, absolutely. And also In the Heights, just, oh my gosh, what an infectious movie. I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic. And I think the biggest one in my last moments here, I think The Greatest Showman has just done wonders to revive movie musicals because everyone who comes up to me when that movie comes out, even to this day, I'll go over to friends' houses, it's playing in the background, especially during the holidays.
It's true. And I credit Disney for keeping musicals alive with their animated musicals. But I get most excited when a live action musical, whether it's La La Land or In the Heights or The Greatest Showman, or even the more recent Hairspray from 20 or whatever years ago, I get excited when those happen because then I feel like there's more of a chance for movie musicals to be more viable than they have been certainly in the last, few years. If you look back in the last 55 years, only one musical has won the Oscar for Best Picture. That's Chicago. One musical in the last 55 years. And I think that's too bad.
Yes.
And I want some more high quality contemporary movie musicals.
Well, congratulations on your new series. I'm glad to hear it's more than 1 month. TCM Musical Matinee. I guess I'll see you next time at the TCM Fest next year, huh?
I look forward to it. Thanks,
All
Jeffrey.
right. Thanks so much. Take care.